The Pelicans schedule is out. We're going to break it down and give our opinions on the easiest and toughest stretches of the season. Will this be the year BI, Zion, and CJ make noise in the West? Pro Pels Talk starting right.
First took away. Gas to this. Get your money's worth out.
5, Chris Connor. Schedule's out. We'll start with you, 5. First off, give me your toughest stretch of the season.
As I'm looking at it right now, it's this back stretch, pause. Towards the end of the season, there's I think it's March. It's Philadelphia, Atlanta. No, that might not be it. Sorry. Brooklyn, Orlando, Miami, at Detroit, and then you come back with Oklahoma City. Of course, it may not. They might be making a playoff push at the time. They have Shea. But you go with Milwaukee at home, Boston at home, Phoenix, Orlando, and then San Antonio, and then you got to go to Phoenix. So I think that's a really tough stretch. Also, if you're trying to make a playoff push, depending on how your record is in January, which is another tough stretch that you're going to have to deal with. So this might be a make or break time for the Pelicans in March.
Interesting. Chris, what would you say is your thought on the toughest stretch of the season for the Pelicans?
Pull up the schedule real quick.
Yeah,
because I had it. It's like so for me, it's this. So the beginning of the year, they got a lot of home games, right? So that's helpful to me. This, like it is for any other year. I think that they have to. They're gonna have to get off to a good start, and they got to take advantage of these home games, specifically once the season starts to progress. So I think that area where they got Dallas and Denver all jumping up, some good teams, and then you got some mixture of of playoff teams. You got the almighty Sacramento Kings on a back-to-back. You know what I'm saying? The greatest team ever assembled. I don't know how they're gonna be able to get through it. So no, but I'm looking at a lot of high scoring games in that mix, to be honest. And it's gonna take these dudes being even through the home stretch to be ready, to be focused. And you last year I think what caught up, what started a lot of the injuries for a lot of key players was the workload that they had to deal with, playing all of these high competitive, high scoring games, and you playing, dudes playing minutes that they're not used to at this level. Stress adds up, and from Larry to Jose to Zion, you started to see it take its toll, and then you get into the dog days of the season. You don't have your guys. You go on some rough stretches. CJ basically gets banged up, and there you have it.
Yeah, Lito, I look at that. I was telling 5 at the beginning before we got on the stream, that stretch of where we play the Lakers on New Year's Eve, and then you kind of have a home, away, home. You go Brooklyn at Minnesota, then you get the Clippers, and then you go on the West Coast to Sacramento, Golden State, Denver, and back-to-back in Dallas. That would probably be my hardest stretch of the season. What would you say?
Justin, none of that matters. It don't matter. The paper don't matter. You know what I'm saying? The only thing matters is from January to March, April is health. Because we can look at the schedule, we can circle teams and say this is a lesser opponent, this is going to be a tough opponent. But we could have did the same thing last year, and you literally got to the point where you were number 1 in the West. And not to be the downer of this shit, but I'm just fuck it. I'm on pain pills. So listen, the thing is if we can play, I don't know, let's I'm gonna just say the Hawks, right? You could play the Hawks, and they could be bad at the time, but if Zion isn't there, if Brandon isn't there, I'm just being realistic. If they're not there, this schedule shit doesn't even matter.
Chris and 5, what would y'all say to that? That's because it's an interesting point. You're going to be playing the same teams, and there's going to be tough West Coast trips, and there's going to be tough stretches in the season. We'll go Chris first and 5. What would you say to that with Lito?
Well, to Lito's point, if I'm correct, one of the games that they lost in that 10-game losing streak was to Orlando, right? They lost to Orlando. They lost to Orlando twice, in the season, but they lost to Orlando. They were up on the Heat in that 10-game losing streak and lost. There were a couple of games that, you would have said gimmies even without certain players, or even welcoming back BI, and it didn't end up mattering because of either, just really because of health and working guys back in. So, yeah, I think that matters for, the paper only does so much. The Thunder, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. The Thunder tried their best. They were monitoring SGA's minutes, and it seemed like they were slowly starting to turn it down. They had a little bit of a tough schedule down the stretch. It didn't matter. So I definitely agree. Health is always wealth when we're talking about this kind of setup. However, yeah, I mean, timing, rest games. I mean, we're talking about an in-season tournament. There's a lot of elements, I think, in this season that's a little bit different. That's hard to forecast.
Yeah, and 5, to that point, I think from what I'm gathering on the Pelicans schedule, they have 6 back-to-back games on the road, and they have 3 home away, 1 away home, and 3 home and home.
I think the total's out to 13 back-to-backs. Yes,
13 back-to-backs total. It's kind of funny though. Of course, they get 6 away and 3 home and home. I don't know how they factor that in, but that's not great. But would you, to Lito's point and Chris's point, would you want to elaborate a little bit on health?
I mean, it's the most important thing. I mean, to Chris's name today is King's health. Like we would love the King's health at this point, right? We would love to see 8 guys play 70 plus games, right? That'd be, which is not to Chris's demise, is not like uncommon. It should be more common than it is not. But that the way the NBA is set up, really good teams sometimes are just lucky. I'm just waiting on the turn that the Pelicans' health is kind of lucky at this point, right? We've seen the down years. Can we see the upswing of that? But again, to Lito's point, it ain't gonna matter if they're not healthy. It's not gonna matter if Zion and BI aren't there. Hopefully, you see the young guys raise their games, but that's the only thing we can really be hopeful for, right? For them to kind of be able to steady the ship until those guys get back. I mean, we've seen this before. I just don't want to see this movie over and over again.
Yeah. Can I add on to something though?
Absolutely.
I really feel like and the reason I feel like this is because like you went with a healthy team. Well, more so BI was out, but you had Zion. You went toe to toe with the Denver Nuggets, right? So you saw the highs of the highs. You played the NBA champs and you beat them, right? But what I'm trying to get to is like, on paper or even like on in the actual game, I think this team is talented enough to contend with anybody, but it's just that lingering issue of what the Sacramento Kings have. I literally talked to Chris. I was talking to Chris earlier, and I told him, for me, like I understand his hate for them with that. I think though the hate is like jealousy. Like I'd love to have that.
Envious.
Yeah,
because we have never had it.
Yeah,
never.
And to Chris was like, yo, like I don't even want 8. I just want 5. You know what I'm saying? Like I just want 5 players.
Right.
I'm
Chris,
just quoting you.
Wait, Chris, for everyone that didn't see the live stream last night, can you throw back the stat of what the Kings did last year?
Dog.
Well, for games played, they
8 top players played 73 fucking games.
I'm glad you dropped the F-bomb there. It's perfect.
Look, man, I started looking through some of these teams, bro. I started looking through the Nuggets that like they won first in the West, won the championship. Neither Jokic nor Murray played 70 games. I think the only 2 people on their team that played 70 plus games was KCP and Christian Braun. The fucking Kings had 8, and they still only won 6 more games than the team we're talking about right now in the Pelicans. I'm gonna say this, and I promise I'm done hating. Okay, if you're gonna get that kind of coach and you got the best offense of all fucking time, you should have won 60 games. All you got for me is 48. You ain't break no other records. You couldn't Mike D'Antoni it. When nobody in MVP conversation. I'm just saying, you gonna break records, win more than 48 games. The shit was fake, and I mean I'm saying that until they prove me wrong.
Shit was fake, according to Chris Connor. 5. What's the Actually, before we get into that, podcast sponsored by Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Pro Pels Talk. Give them a call at 504-523-5413 if you or someone you know has been involved in an accident. Birdsall Law Firm, the official injury lawyers of Pro Pels Talk. 5, give me the game that you're most looking forward to. I know it's like you play everybody, but who's the game you're most looking forward to? And I know it probably just got you off the.
No. That's cool. I know exactly what game that is.
Go ahead, baby.
Off the top, Golden State, October 30th.
Why?
Oh, it's early. Steph returns to the Smoothie King Center.
They
right?
are on a back-to-back again. Just throwing that out there. They are on a back-to-back, and the second is the Pelicans.
But it's early. Steph hasn't played in the Smoothie King Center in like 2 or 3 years type. Like, that's going to tell me what this team is built on. That team will be ready to play. They're going to be on the mission, right? They got their guys back, right? Draymond got a new contract. Jordan Poole isn't there. Like, it's going to be like an ushering of a new wave. Like, no, that's going to tell me, like, are you ready? Maybe Memphis, but no, this Golden State game is a national televised game, NBA TV. But to see it up close and personal, I think this is a game where the Pelicans have the ability to make a early statement, right? Like, all right, we beat a team. They may be aging, but they're still a smart team, and they're going to try to put their best foot forward against the Pelicans.
Lito, I like that answer a lot. 5. Lito, go ahead.
Great answer.
November 20th and November 22nd.
You're such an asshole. I thought we were over that. I mean, I really did. I thought we were over it. But go ahead.
Keep it going.
Keep it going for sure. But let's go tell you, Lito.
Who are they playing? Who are they playing?
They playing the Sacramento Kings, man. They're playing the Kings. Hey, look, seriously, like, no, this ain't got nothing to do with Chris. Like, the last time the Pelicans played the Kings, like, they
Mike Bibby, wow.
They got smoked. They got absolutely smoked. You know what I'm saying? And if it's a redemption. It feels like this season is leading to like a redemption type theme from all angles. You know what I'm saying? Like Zion taking his game health seriously, like, with injuries and the team in general, like everybody, Willie becoming a better coach, like Mike Brown outcoached them. Like Fox and Sabonis, like they outplayed our best players, or either our best players weren't playing. Either way, you know what I'm saying? Like you got something to prove against that team, and like they are a team who, they were right there as far as like going to the Western Conference Finals. Like they were right there. Like you could have.
Can I add something to this?
Yeah.
It's really an intriguing matchup when you think about it. Like Fox versus CJ, you have BI versus Harrison Barnes, like or a little bit above Zion versus Sabonis, like polar opposites in a sense. And you got a guy like Jose coming off the bench and going against a Fox, that's not really going to match up. But Herter and Trey Murphy, like the ideals are somewhat opposite, but yet the same. Like you can see these two matching up really well. It's probably gonna come down to like a final shot, final play. Kind of see how that goes.
Well, last time I was told by an assistant that we could score with them.
Yeah,
that was the halftime strategy. So
God, I wish.
I wonder where he is now.
Chris, you can't say the Kings. Chris, who are we most looking forward to?
So my first thought was Phoenix. But I really like Five's answer with Golden State, but not even just because of the Steph situation. Chris Paul, like, I having that game early. The energy is always different with Chris Paul in the building. It doesn't matter where he is. Yes, but then think about the last game that the Pelicans played against Golden State. In Golden State, Pelicans get off to a really good run, and then you get that setup where Draymond just starts going nuts, challenging the character of the Pelicans, and they just folded. You know what I'm saying? He's telling CJ you ain't. Yeah, I mean, Draymond telling CJ you not like that, calling him all type of names, calling him out his name. You know what I'm saying? And then they just went on a run, and they did what they do, right? That's a situation. And it was another game as well before that when they played in Golden State where Kuminga kind of frustrated. We saw him kind of frustrate Ingram, and the Pelicans blew another lead in a game like that. So where it's just two different types of mentalities, right? The Golden State just they never panicked, they never got up too high. They knew no matter how big the lead was that they would have an opportunity, and they executed. I want to see how the Pelicans in a game that's going to, especially beginning of the year, it's going to have a lot of energy in the building. People are going to be excited. Going to be a lot of stars playing, hopefully, and you get the Chris Paul element. A lot of hate in there. We know how Jose feels. I just think that game is going to bring a different kind of intensity for, an October game.
That's a good point. And I was going to actually say, Lakers New Year's Eve. I think it's an interesting game, but the one I'm looking at is actually at Minnesota, November 8th. We all remember what happened the last game of the year. There's a fight on the side, fight on the Timberwolves bench. We blow a huge lead. We really needed to win that game. We don't. And then you had the Ant and BI kind of first going at each other after Team USA and FIBA. So I'm interested to see that game. And then I think it's an important stretch, but that stretch against Dallas, November 12th and 14th, you have them both at home. You got to take care of business there. Those, like, between Dallas and Sacramento, you get Sacramento twice and Dallas twice in the first 16 games. And to me, I think the Pelicans will be bunched up with the Kings and Mavericks moving forward for the playoff race. And we all know tiebreakers in the West, man. Like, you got to win those. You have to win those because it burned us last year. So I think that the first 15 games are really interesting to me.
Can I talk about this caveat? I'm just saying, it's November 25th and 27th. It's at Utah. You can't lose to Utah 3 times.
We did it last year. Remember the same thing.
That's why I'm saying, like, you can't do this. Like, that was a thing. Like, you lost to Utah 3 straight. Like, you can't do it. So just not repeating the same habits or same mistakes that you did last year. Hopefully you learn from them.
I'm looking at March 22nd through April 1st. It's a really interesting, some really interesting teams you have. Like you have on March 20th.
That was the one I brought up earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. No, but I think that's a tough stretch because it's only a day in between those games, somewhat, right? Yeah. Like I'm not gonna just like count them all, but it's almost like 10 games in 15 days or 16 days, something crazy like that.
Yeah. And I think when you look at the stretch, right? Like you got Miami, who just went to the finals. An established team. They have a culture. They have the guys that they have. But the interesting part of it for me is Detroit, right? Detroit has Monty, brand new coach. Like you see what Cade has been doing this summer in FIBA practice and just killing, his summer sessions. And then you got Jaden and you got the rest of those guys on that team. I think Detroit is going to be much improved and surprise a lot of people. And then you got, like Five already talked about, OKC and how they tried. They literally tried to miss the playoffs, and like they were just too good. You gonna hate this, Justin, but you add Chet to that. You add, another year J-Dub, and I think they're gonna be a really, really, really good team. And Milwaukee is Milwaukee. Like you bring that same team back with a new coach, and you add Porzingis to Boston, and you add the whole Bradley Beal shit with Phoenix. It's gonna be a tough stretch.
I got a question for whoever wants to answer first. Do y'all think the last game of the year against the Lakers at home is gonna matter?
It's gonna matter to fans.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I'm not worried about the fans. I'm talking about playoff positioning or even draft status. Do you think that game's going to matter
to somebody? Yeah, it's gonna matter to either the Pelicans or the Lakers or both of them.
That's an interesting game. I think that last game of the year.
I mean, because if we're being honest, I think it's only 2 reasons that we're really invested there or that it matters at that point. I mean, I think the Lakers are gonna be really good, and they're not gonna be fighting at the end of the playoff bracket, this year, right? So if that's the case, you're fighting for maybe a home court advantage. Possibly, or you're fighting for playoff positioning, which is awesome. It adds, like we're not used to doing that if you're like the Pelicans, right? So you're battling with a team that you could possibly end up seeing later on in the playoffs if things break your way, or it's the other side of things, and it's a game that could, maybe knock you out of the playoffs. You know what I mean? I mean something like that, or put you in a situation where you no longer control your destiny because of the last few years. the last couple of years where this team has been battling, the end of the season's always been stressful. It's been stressful, and you would hope that it's not the latter. Any other scenario, if the season's already done for one side or the other, I mean, I think it's either I'm not really, you're not going to be as tied into it, or even if the Lakers it's the unlikely setup, at least in my opinion, that the Lakers are a bad team somehow. This tragedy hits them, when you're fighting to get, their draft pick, which is in your possessions. What is it, the swap or
Swap,
whatever it is?
Swap, yeah.
Yeah, to be in higher standing.
What you mean Jackson Hayes is over there? You don't think that
Jackson Hayes
They're
return
gonna
is
be.
New
I mean,
Year's
I
Eve.
think they're gonna be a good team, though. But I mean, I think
I do too.
their floor is like 5th seed to me. That's probably generous.
Last part of the show, 5. Pelicans. I guess you can. Do you want to say it's a break that they missed John Morant opening night, or is that not gonna matter? Because I remember you said last night they're the Memphis Grizzlies is well coached. It doesn't matter. You can just plug and play, and they'll be fine. Do you think the Pelicans catch a break there? Or do you think? I mean, that's going to be a tough ass game to open up the year.
I mean, I think they catch a break because Ja is a superstar, but this isn't going to be like a lighter game or an easy win for the Pelicans. The fact that he isn't there, then they're going to be prepared and ready to play when it's opening night. So everybody wants to play and play well. Look at the Pelicans. They went to Brooklyn their first game last year and stomped a hole in their head. What they had KD. It's not like he wasn't playing. Like no, they were ready too, and they just lost. So you can't take your opponents lightly. I'm pretty sure the Nets didn't think anything of the Pelicans. That's probably why they got beat so bad. So nah. You just can't take them lightly. I think they're gonna be ready to play.
I'm going now. We'll start Lito. We'll Chris and Fago end this. How many wins this year?
You want to do this?
Just go. How many wins? Because we do this every year. How many wins?
what? Why you?
Don't give me health. Just tell me how many wins.
I said 40. I said 40. I said 48 last year. I'm going 48 this year.
Chris. Say it.
So if they won 48 games, that means that they tied with what the Kings did last year, right?
Yep.
Got it. That would be a spectacular season. I mean, that would be. It was 3rd seed last year. It's
gonna be 6 this year.
Like generational.
If you think 48 wins is gonna get you to
It's gonna be 6.
third seed this year.
No. But I mean, I have to continue to play the hate, man. How many wins? I like 48, but I don't want copycat. I'm gonna go with. Let's see, they won 42 last year. I think that they will win more games. Let's go with 46.
46. 5. You even brought the pencil out there.
I know because I was writing. Last year I said 52. Like I was.
They were on pace.
I said 50.
They were on pace.
Over there.
Hey, bro, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say 50. I'm gonna drop down 2 games. 50. I'm being ultra generous right now.
Where does that place them in the West? 5.
4th.
4th. I was about to say 4th or 5th.
You got it.
In order to get 50, Jarrett. In order for them to get 50 wins, how many games does Brandon Zion have to play? It's so fucking frustrating. How many games? 60? 50?
Like between the both of them or together collectively?
No, just they don't have to be on the court at the same time. That's asking too much. That's asking way too much.
That's
So
what
the
I'm
bar,
saying.
as we say, is low.
It's so low. Like you want me to? No, I can't signify. Let's say together they have to play 30 games together.
That's crazy. If they can't play 30 games together, then
They got to play 30 games.
Lito's just not amused. Like, I don't even know what to.
I mean,
Because to
year
be
5.
honest, they're not.
Like,
To be okay, no. To get 50 wins, they probably have to play 40 games together. To be honest, because you're not going to win every game that they play together, right? I'm gonna say you probably go 30-10 in those games. Hopefully, I'm being generous, and hopefully your team, your bench players have gotten better, and the coaching. Hopefully, the offense is better. That way, you can close that gap, right? You're gonna need an extra 20 wins. So hopefully, coaching can get you 20 more wins.
That's a really good point, 5. I think coaching, CJ, and Trey are going to be the X factors in this entire equation.
Oh,
If
yeah.
if CJ is healthier last season during that stretch without those guys, maybe they still a couple more. You know, I mean, you get a couple extra of those games like he showed against the Spurs, I think in New Orleans, where he dropped 40 or something like that. You get the, something. If he's healthy and he's able to revert to late first season, yeah, I mean, I would say when he first arrived in New Orleans and he was playing really well, and part of Portland, CJ, you get a different individual. And if Trey takes a leap that shows when healthy and when this team isn't healthy, that probably raises the floor. I think those two guys are the biggest X factors, and regardless of where their health finishes for this year.
Hey, let me ask us before we sign off. What did y'all think of the video the Pelicans posted with CJ McCollum? And then what are y'all's thoughts on actually CJ being, the picture on the schedule and not Brandon and Zion? Lito, I'll start with you first.
I thought that the video was brilliant. I'm so happy to see the Pels start participating in things like this. Like, normally, I'm not gonna speak about the past. I'm just gonna move forward with the present. It was a brilliant video. I love who they picked to be in the video. Like he never realized how much he looked like CJ, which is crazy. I really feel like people are gonna owe CJ an apology this year, because you're gonna see a guy healthy. Like if you think he's not reading the tweets, if you ain't seeing what was said about him, and how you tried to trade him or give him up for whatever, like I think people gonna owe him an apology. And I feel like to be on it on the cover, right? Like, I mean, we put Zion there like 4 years in a row, and like he has not lived up to the billing. You know what I'm saying? Like just being realistic. Like you got an adult. He's the voice in the room. Like he's put pressure on the team from the moment the season ended. Like he never stopped talking. He went on podcasts. You know what I'm saying? He did this. He's been training, and he's been showing you like the way to handle yourself as a professional. So I'm really happy to see him there, and I think people go owe him an apology.
Chris, then we'll end it.
Yeah, I really like the video, and the reason I know I really liked it is because my attention span dies these days after about 18 seconds, and I finished the entire video and was like, oh, this is dope. And I wasn't able to predict everything. I got the visual artist in me has a couple critiques possibly, but I'm happy that they took what was right there. CJ's been compared to Jaleel White for years now. So I'm glad they were able to use that. CJ, he could have been a much worse actor than he actually was. So I mean, they put in the effort and were creative with it. And about the cover, man, look, I think this year is a real pivotal year for CJ, man, in a lot of different ways. I mean, look, man, between the health and but between what he was battling with last year, and being he didn't look to be in the greatest of shape, right? Still transitioning to a new city, a newborn. You saw some inconsistent play, and I would say he would even agree with that. On top of being the president, of the Players Association, and and working out on a new CBA, he had a lot of stuff on his plate with this team. Well, I'm sure had a lot of frustrations to go with it as well. This year, he get an opportunity. I think when healthy, he looks to be in really great shape. We talked about he's putting a lot of time and a lot of work. He has a chance to really remind folks that may have forgotten or dismiss who he is in this league, and have it impact winning. Because look, we keep talking about the changes in this new CBA. If we're talking about who's going to be the odd man out, Brandon's up for an extension. Zion ain't going nowhere. You never know. But the person that people point at that would be gone, most likely gone if this team is elevated anywhere, trade down the line looking for an extension, is CJ. He got a chance to prove, no, this is where I belong. This is who I am, and we're gonna take this team finally to another level.
Both of y'all well said. 5, close us out.
It's a rare condition for this day and age for the Pelicans to do something like that. I thought it was pretty good. Now, as Chris said, as a visual artist, a couple things I would have added, like 1, the theme song, 2, his time machine, you could have turned it and stuff. Like there was a couple different ways you could have flipped this, but the effort was there. You know, I'm not mad at her first step. It's almost like a De'Aaron Fox first step, really quick.
We would end it like that. Let's hear before we get
That's how
off.
we
Let's
ended it?
hear. Let's hear from
That's crazy.
DraftKings Sportsbook. With the NFL season right around the corner, nonstop football action is in sight. You can get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Life's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app before kickoff. Use code BOOT to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you just bet $5 on any NFL bet. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. The crown is yours.
Yeah, I'm never saying that. I can just press the button.
Like, comment, subscribe. Love to hear your thoughts. Chris Cotter 5 and Lito signing off. We'll see y'all Sunday night.